welcome you all, basketball degenerates, to another episode of the Pass First, Shoot Later podcast brought to you by the OC Basketball League. I am your host, Siko Pepic, here with my co-hosts, Michael Van Wyck and Omar Almadine. And Michael Van Wyck is supposed to be wearing a Kobe Bryant jersey today, but apparently he supposedly forgot or couldn't get one because he doesn't own a
No,
Laker
I,
fan.
I didn't forget. I don't own one. We said it. You go back and listen to our first episode, whenever it was that we decided this. I need to get a jersey. So if someone's got a jersey, large or extra large, we'll make it happen. But I'm
Mike,
not buying a Kobe Bryant jersey.
Mike just found an excuse. That's all.
No, I made the deal. I'll do it. Just got to get the jersey.
Okay, well, we'll look to see if we can get you a jersey. I'm a little hesitant to give him mine because I feel like he might like wear it and then the next thing you know, burn it, like record it on Instagram or stomp on it like Paul Pierce just did to Jalen
I,
Brunson's jersey.
I would never do that. The guy's dead.
So you would have done it while he was alive.
No, I don't care that much.
Okay. By the way, did you guys see Paul Pierce stomping on Jalen Brunson's jersey?
I saw the video. I don't get the point of that. It's not like he's doing anything to Jalen Brunson. He's supporting him by buying a jersey. He's going to go buy another one.
I couldn't understand where that came up at all. I don't think there was ever a New York versus Boston Celtics or Paul Pierce rivalry for that to come up.
Well, he was in Brooklyn.
He's just Paul Pierce trying to be relevant.
Paul Pierce was in Brooklyn for a minute.
Yeah, but it's like he
That
was
doesn't
in
count.
Brooklyn and didn't matter. Like, he was old and like it's not like had anything to do with him at that point. And New York wasn't relevant at the time. So it just blowing my mind right now when I think about this.
Let's be honest. All of these grown adults burning jerseys, stomping on jerseys, throwing a jersey in the trash. None of it makes sense. It's dumb. You bought the jersey. You have the jersey.
Right.
What
But
difference does it make?
if they had played the Celtics, I'd get it. But they just lost like I could get like Reggie Miller doing something like that because he hates the Knicks and he's a pacer for life. But what the heck did Paul Pierce have to do that for?
Reggie Miller's a grown adult. He's not going to do something dumb like that. Even like that never made sense to me. Anybody burning a jersey, burning anything. What are you doing?
Yeah, but you see that a lot in soccer in Europe and stuff like that.
Yeah,
But,
like it's used to it for us.
Yeah, I don't
yeah,
watch soccer.
But at the end of the day, it's just I think it's Paul Pierce trying to be relevant. And you guys saw what he did on that show, right? I mean, there's a part of Paul Pierce that's not fully there, in my opinion.
No.
So I'm not surprised, But I'm not gonna lie, I do like his podcast with KG.
I do too. I like his
It's very
podcast with KG.
entertaining.
But it's because of KG that it's entertaining. Like,
Well, true, but he knows how to get under KG's skin. You know.
well,
But speaking about New York, right? We're talking about New York, the team that we talked about on earlier podcasts, potentially making it to the Eastern Conference Finals, if not the NBA Finals. I mean, that injury to Jalen Brunson did hurt them. Obviously, they played without Julius Randle, so let's not, without harping on that. Can you guys see them next year building off of this and actually being a favorite in the East with the trade that they had with Toronto midway through the season, having a full training camp with those guys, having Julius Randle back? How are they going to coexist? Can you guys see them, building off of this and actually being favorites next year?
I'm gonna have Mike start this one because I had pointed stuff out in the beginning of the year. Mike thought I was a lunatic. My prediction looked pretty good, barring the injuries. So, Mike, go ahead and you start.
So I was going to go exactly off of what Zico said. Favorites, I don't think they'll be the favorites, but I think they will be high enough. I think Boston's still going to be the favorites. They're going to obviously be in the finals. I think Indiana had their best shot in game one and ended up blowing that. I think that killed momentum. That series is probably five.
They also might be losing Halliburton to injury right now. He went out. He went out with a sore leg, but we don't know the extent of that.
That's what I'm saying. So that series is done. So them being in the finals, and I'm pretty sure they're going to return everybody. I don't see any major free agents leaving from Boston. Kristaps will be healthy, so they're going to be the favorites in the East. With that said, and watching the way New York went through the playoffs without Julius Randle, adding Julius Randle back in, they're going to be a definite contender. Like you said, full season after the trade, full off season, getting to know the system, getting to play in that, getting more comfortable and adjusted. I think they're going to be a very good team. Honestly, I think Philly's got to do something different, and Philly will be in there just because of Embiid, but I think it's going to be Boston, New York. So yeah, I can see them being a heavy favorite to reach the Eastern Conference Finals. They're definitely a contender for the finals, but I don't see them being the favorite over Boston. One, because Boston's going to be in the finals this year, and they're not going to lose anybody, and most likely they'll win the finals if Kristaps is healthy. So I see them as being the favorites, even though no team has won back-to-back championships in 6 seasons now. So huge disparity in the NBA right now, and I think that was the goal of the league, and I think they're achieving that. So that's good to see too. Go ahead, Zico.
All right. One thing I'm going to point out about Boston is they have Derek White and Al Horford coming off the books this summer. There's going to be a lot of teams that have money this summer, and I would not be surprised for a team to go out there and offer Derek White a contract that he cannot refuse.
I agree with you on the Derek White, but Al Horford is older, so I can see him going back for a vet's minimum.
Right.
But you're right. Derek White's performance after he shaved that little nappy hair of his and finally came home, joined this group right here. He's actually played better. And so I agree with you, continue, Zico, but not Al Horford. Put that aside.
Yeah, I mean, I'm just saying they're coming off the books. Al Horford would probably take a veteran minimum for the team to, keep their money intact. I think Derek White, and to be honest with you, I think the team that's going to do it is the team that traded him there, San Antonio Spurs. The Spurs have a lot of money to work with. I would not be surprised to see them offer Derek White a contract he can't refuse, along with another player that could put them in contention, or at least give them a chance to have Wemby have a playoff type of team. So I think every team is going to be gunning to try and dismantle that team. And they already have some issues financially coming up. Porzingis is going to come off the books too. They can't pay everybody, especially with the new caps that are coming in. They have 50 million going to Jaylen Brown. Jason Tatum's going to get a super max that's going to be worth 60 million a year. Drew Holiday's tied down for another 4 years at 30 million, and Kristaps is making 30 million right now. He's going to want the same, if not more money as well. There's not enough to go around.
You don't think these guys will take cuts to win coming off of a championship if they win the championship?
I don't think they're going to win the championship. I'm calling this right now. I've kind of felt this about this team. I really like the roster that they put together. I have this just gut feeling that something is going to go wrong because it's been going really well for so long. We've seen this with the Celtics before. So
actually,
call me crazy. I just think one of the Western teams is winning this year again.
Zico, just going back to Derek White, he's actually still on the books, him and Al Horford, for 1 more year.
Player option.
Not what I see, but I could be wrong. But I'm looking at Hoops Hype here, and basically Derek White and Al Horford still on the books for 24-25, and they come off the books on 25-26.
Okay, maybe I'm wrong then. Maybe that they do have 1 more year.
And actually, Porzingis is on the books until 25-26.
Oh,
Jason Tatum actually has a player option in 25-26.
I'm looking at Fanspo right now, and it says that this is their last year. So,
yeah, I don't know which one is more, accurate, to be honest. But yeah, I'm looking at Hoops Hype. They're both. But going back to Derek White, like you mentioned, Zico. Let's see here. He's actually made about 41 million total in his career, right? So, I think you're right. No matter what happens, even if they win a championship, and let's say he is off the books this year, this coming year, next year, I think he's going to chase the money with the type of money that's getting thrown out around in the NBA. For a guy that's been in the NBA since 2017 and only has made 41 to 45 million, I think if he gets a chance to make 20 to 30 million for over the next 4 or 5 years, he's taking that.
It's taken. And at that point, with the salary cap changes, he's going to be worth 25 to $30 million a year.
And could easily get him a 4 or 5 year deal.
Yeah, he's going to get $100 million deal. That's what the going rate's going to be for someone like that at that point. Now, coming back to the Knicks, there's tons of rumors floating around the Knicks. This always happens with the LA, the New York teams. Whenever one of them loses, you automatically hear this guy is gone. This guy's not coming back. They're going to trade for this player. They're going to trade for that player. We just saw it with the Lakers. Second they lost, it's like D'Angelo Russell's not coming back. And we don't know
Wouldn't
that.
bring him back.
Well, we don't know that he's not coming back yet, is what I'm referring to.
We still don't know who the coach is.
Right. A lot of rumors keep flowing around that nothing has had an opportunity to unfold for us to know that. He has a player option. If he sees that he's not going to get more money anywhere else, why would he give up that player option and lose $20 million? He might make less money if he opts out. So I'm hearing with the Knicks, like right away, Bleacher Report says Knicks are looking to trade Julius Randle because they got far without him. Because this is like the idiot writers who don't really know basketball management of organizations and things like that. They think the Knicks were doing better without him. So you hear a rumor like that and you think, to me, it's BS. Before Julius Randle got hurt, they were the best offense and best defense in the NBA when they had Hartenstein, Randle, Anunoby, DiVincenzo, and Jalen Brunson playing. They beat the Denver Nuggets by like 35 points. They were beating every team by 30 plus points. They went on a 9-game winning streak where they're just destroying their opponents. So to me, that team's coming back. Hartenstein's coming back. I don't think Randall's getting traded. But at the same time, this is the thing I talked about with the Knicks. They have so much flexibility. They literally could take Bogdanovic's $20 million contract and Mitchell Robinson's $14 million contract and 10 future first-round draft picks and trade $34 million worth of salary for any superstar in the NBA that they want, along with those starting five.
But who's a superstar that fits that?
It doesn't even have to be a superstar. It could literally
I just went off of what you said, but I think just going back to the option of trading, you don't think Julius Randle will be traded, but let's just say there is some truth to that rumor. Julius Randle, the way he's been playing in New York, now has that value, that asset that could be worth, a trading value. Who would be the right fit to replace him in the 4 spot for that?
That's the hard part with the way the Knicks play, that you're very limited with guys that are going to fit there. Some people think automatically star type players like, oh, go get Zion, trade him for Zion. You really think Zion's going to last in the Tom Thibodeau defense and offense where he's playing?
He'll be hurt by game 5.
Right. So now think somebody else. KD's not going to be able to do the same thing. You need to think players who fit the system. And this is what I really like about organizations like the Knicks, the Mavericks, OKC Thunder right now. They are building their system around their coach, around their style of play, and they're putting the right players around it to make sure it fits. I don't see anyone else out there unless it's like Jimmy Butler. You go Jimmy Butler or Bam Adebayo or any of the Miami players, like maybe you could make that work. Anyone else, I just don't think it's happening. So
but you got to trade him for another power forward, in my opinion, or you're going to go small ball, right?
Right, and
that's not small ball. Yeah, Jimmy Butler would be a guy that could fit in Thibodeau's system because I think he also played for Thibodeau, right?
Yep, in Chicago.
So he knows how to the system and everything. But there's also a rumor, and I don't know if Julius Randle would want to go back to New Orleans, but there's also a rumor that Brandon Ingram is going to test the market, right? So if he a guy, you don't think he's a good fit for New York?
I just don't think he's a good fit for New York. I love Brandon Ingram. He's one of those Laker guys that I loved. He struggled in LA with all the stuff that was going on in LA. How do you think he's going to handle it in New York? The big lights, the trouble it causes, all things like that. I just don't think he's a good fit for that team. So it's just, for me, it's like, again, if you're building something, you want to make sure you find a piece. If they find a piece like Joel Embiid wants to get traded and they offer, or Giannis, it's if Giannis or Embiid decides to go, like Giannis would probably be the best fit. Like if Giannis asks for a trade and then they trade him for Julius Randle, that makes sense to me. But I just don't see that happening. Like, why would Milwaukee trade him to New York? Like, what a
So
rival team,
Well, here's the
so
thing. Pascal Siakam is on the last year
It's not a
deal.
good
It'd
fit.
be a sign and trade deal with Pascal
but,
Siakam be a good fit for New York.
but right
Maybe,
now we're playing hypotheticals again. Everything we're
right.
doing is speculation, hypotheticals. As they are right now, nobody makes any moves. Everybody comes back tomorrow with the same teams intact.
The
It's
Knicks are the best team in the
it's
East.
it's them and
The
Boston.
Knicks will be the best team in the East.
That's what
And
They
I'm
would have
saying,
been the
Mike.
best team.
that may be true. That may be true, but the favorites and the odds are going to favor Boston because they got there.
Right.
And
But Mike, I need you to comprehend something. Julius
Favorite
Randle
to be the
played
best
Julius
team in
Randle
two
played
different games.
15 games with Anunoby. They
okay,
were the number one offense and number one defense in that 15-game stretch. Okay.
okay,
Julius Randle gets hurt. They're still the second place team in the East. If Julius Randle did not get hurt, they would be the favorites coming out of the East. They are literally built. It's like, listen, this is just like Minnesota being built to beat Denver. The Knicks were built to beat Boston. Whether you want to accept that or not, they had the depth, they had the perimeter
oh,
defense, they had the length, they had the size to pound them inside.
oh, but they didn't play him. They lost to the Pacers.
I know, but that's because of an injury. I just said if Julius
So,
Randle did not get hurt.
but that's what I'm saying. So based on that, based on the way Boston ran through the regular season, based on the way Boston's running through the postseason, even with an injury to their starter, I still think they're going to be the favorite. Now, whether that pans out and they are the best team, that's a whole different thing. The number one team isn't always the number one seed.
Which is why I just said they wouldn't have been favored come playoffs, is what I was referring to. Even if Boston was the best seed, the first seed, I didn't say the Knicks would pass them. I said come playoffs, the betting odds would have been different had this
Maybe,
been healthy.
maybe.
Yeah, I'm just like this whole thing. We talked about this with Minnesota. I talked about to you about this earlier in the season. I said, if a team is going to beat Denver, that is the team that's going to beat Denver. It's just the way they're assembling the roster, the way they're not trying to just build around a star. They're trying to counter the best teams. This is what the teams did in the 90s and 2000s. Like, how do we beat the Spurs? How do we beat the Lakers? That's what everybody's trying to like angle for.
I'm not taking away anything from Minnesota in this next sentence, but Denver beat themselves in Game 7. They had a 20-point lead.
I'm gonna let you have that statement, and we're not gonna get into that. But then again, for Minnesota, as young as they are, to take Denver to Game 7, there's a problem there.
100%.
Whether Denver,
I disagree with you. I don't think it should
I
have gone to Game 7. This is why it shouldn't have gone to Game 7.
no, stop it with that crap.
No, come on, Mike. Like, did
Dude,
you look at the way the
listen,
game was being called after Game
listen,
3? Nobody
if
expected
you
Minnesota to win the first two.
if the NBA is just trying to get money, why wouldn't they just set up every single game? Why don't we have Knicks Boston? Why did we never see Kobe LeBron? Why did we never get these
Knicks,
eight
Boston
guys?
really don't have that rivalry that you're talking about.
Oh, but Indiana does?
No, I mean Knicks. I think they wanted the Knicks there. I think just
Well,
injuries.
no. We're talking about right now as far as two big market teams. Yes, Indiana. I'm sorry, New York and Boston. Yes, but we're talking about rivalry. We know the history between the Knicks and the Pacers, right? The infamous Reggie Miller choke. So there's that, but there's no rivalry between Boston and New York. They were never good at the same time.
Guys, we play in enough basketball leagues. We've played enough basketball in our lives. We've played with referees that clearly are not being paid one way or the other. Referees are not consistent. They miss calls. They make calls that aren't there. I don't think that every referee in the game is being paid to call it one way or the other.
No, but certain referees that get assigned to certain games has different influences on the games, and that's the controlled narrative, Mike. So yes, you're trying to compare the NBA to the leagues we play in. Where these leagues we play in are not multi-million dollar, multi-billion dollar, you know, businesses. So
Completely
Mike,
agree.
Mike, if you think that, if you think the referees are not in a position of deciding games, if
Oh,
you think
100, wait, I didn't say that. 100% referees can decide games.
okay,
100%.
no, but that's not what I was leading to. In terms of conspiracy theory that they're deciding games on behalf of the NBA and have a game plan. Why are players and coaches not allowed to criticize officials?
They do it all the time.
No, they get fined the second they.
Oh, okay. Players get fined for all kinds of things
Why? Why is that? Why is that in place?
because it's an image thing the NBA wants to uphold. Why back in the day did they have a
but
dress
what
code?
image are you trying to uphold if you're not trying to
Yeah.
hide an image?
It's just because.
I'm
Listen,
sorry,
Yeah.
Mike. When you try to uphold an image, that means you have something you're hiding.
so when you go to a job interview, do you put on a suit and tie, or do you walk in with your t-shirt and basketball shorts?
Depends on what job it's for.
Not you. You're not going
As
for
a
any
matter of
job
fact, as a
interview.
matter of fact, Mike, my current job right now,
Guys, I'm
I
talking
went-
about the
hold
average
on,
person in the
hold on.
world.
The way I went to my interview right now, I'm surprised they even gave me the job. So it all depends. Okay, but you once again you talk about upholding an image.
Did you have something to hide?
We all do.
We all do.
No, stop it, guys, stop it.
No, I actually didn't want the job. So
Well, then that's your
was-
fault for going to interview. That's the dumbest crap I've ever heard you say. Come on now.
You know what? I was,
Guys,
you know,
let's.
rest in peace to my pops. He used my resume, and I went to the interview just so I don't disappoint him. You know, but again, Mike, you made a statement that anybody that listens to our podcast is going to laugh the same way Zico did. You try to uphold an image that means you have something you're trying to deter people from, you're trying to mask, you're trying to hide, and that's what we're talking about.
That's marketing, guys. That's not hiding something that you are.
So marketing is stealing the players' money. Okay.
Yeah, real quick, Omar, you sent to something on Instagram.
Listen,
about Shaq.
hang on. Before we
I didn't
do
want to go there, Zico. I didn't want to go there
before
because
we get into any of that, if there was a whole thing about hiding officials and they don't want their players to criticize officials. They have a whole 2-minute report where they come out and say all the dumb crap the officials missed and didn't call. That's scrutinizing the officials. They're already calling it out. Because they don't want players to do it is a completely different thing. I don't think it has to do with hiding anything.
Mike,
I don't think it has to do with
you have a
burying
brother,
anything.
don't you?
I do
You have a brother.
Yeah, you've been on here.
Your kids have siblings.
Mm-hmm.
Zico has a brother. I have a brother, and I have siblings, and Zico has siblings too. This is common. Let's go to mom and dad right away and tell them what happened so we can build the narrative. So yes, the NBA, the world we live in today with the world of social media, where everything can be replayed, everything can be easily shared. The NBA is trying to beat people to the punch before people start making their own comments and players making it past it. But then again, let's not forget the fact that the NBA has two officials who have really made and tarnished the NBA officiating world. One we know, everybody knows about, that served jail time, and the other one that abruptly retired after being called out for being a Celtic fan.
So two bad
No,
officials
it
mean
wasn't
that
just a
every
Celtic
official's
fan.
paid.
He literally got tied to the official that was in jail.
I mean,
multiple
so
messages,
Correct.
money
Correct.
funneling.
So Mike, yes.
so the whole every NBA
two
player is
out-
betting
two-
because
two
one of
out
them got caught.
Two out of what? If 2 out of 30 or 40 NBA officials, that percentage is still high compared to we're talking about a professional basketball league.
Okay, well, Jonte Porter, he got caught gambling on himself, so the whole league must be doing it.
And
Everybody's
he's
gambling.
banned. He's
What's-
banned.
But what's the whole? And so are the two officials you're talking about.
Okay,
they're not refing anymore.
What about
what are you
Steve
guys
Javie?
talking
What
about
about
right
Steve
now?
Javie in the Chris Paul situation?
Forget
Why is
about
the
it.
NBA? Why is the NBA continues to put him on those games, knowing the situation? And Chris Paul was quiet about it the entire time till the point of he just couldn't take it anymore. And he said what was going on. He said the NBA knows about it, and he was fined for doing that. He had to keep his mouth shut the entire time about a situation, yet the NBA continues to put him on those games, knowing the circumstances, knowing the outcomes, they continue to do it. Mike, you have to have a little bit of an open mind to considering that this could be going on. Like it's
Okay,
one thing to say
okay.
like, yeah, it
So
could
let's
be
let's
going
look
on, but
at
like
let's
I
look.
don't think it is.
It definitely could be going on. I'm not saying it's not going on. I'm just saying it's not every referee, it's not every game, and I don't think the NBA is controlling every seed that goes. Otherwise, they would have their superstars still playing and not the Indiana Pacers. But
Agreed.
put all that aside, you can do it a different way. You're talking about things going back and forth. If they cater and pull Javi off of every Chris Paul game, then they're catering to Chris Paul. But what about the next guy who has a problem with the referee? What about the next guy who has a problem with the referee? You can't cater to everybody, so now you're playing favorites.
It's
You
one
can't do
thing,
that.
it's one thing to not put them on, to not put them on every once in a while. It's another thing to put them in a deciding game in a playoff game. Like that is a red flag. That's a flag where it says like, hey, we're deciding this game. We're going to put an asterisk on this game. Like if you really don't think that it is, Mike, I don't know what to tell you. They have hundreds of refs. Why did they pick him for that game? They have tons of veteran officials. Why are they picking him for those games?
They got 3
It's not
referees
once.
per game.
It's not once. There's 14 playoff outcomes that this happened in.
As a matter of fact, I think they have 4 referees per game, not 3.
Sometimes, well, they have backup. Sometimes coincidences just happen.
Okay. All right. We'll
So
move on
there's,
from that. I'd
you
like
know,
to, I'd like,
remember, Mike is a numbers guy, so there's always statistics and probabilities of coincidence happening in Mike's book.
I'm just saying we're all fans of watching it. And if you think that everything's set up, why are you watching it? If it's just a reality TV show, then the people who like reality TV, cool, go watch it. If it's not real life, why are you watching it? Unless you're into that.
I didn't really want to speak about it, but since Zico brought it up, so you know what? I don't know anything. I'm just a random person running their mouth on this podcast.
That's all we
But
all are.
when a guy, huh?
That's all we all are.
Okay, but when you have a guy that actually goes on record, recorded, and says, "Oh yeah, Phil booked in Indiana before we even played the first round." Okay, so what is that? Coincidence?
Okay, so there's multiple things here. Okay. You can book any hotel you want, anytime you want, and cancel 24 hours before. So he probably heard him say, hey, go book Indiana, but he probably booked New York. He probably booked Brooklyn. He booked all these places. Like you said, this is a multi-billion-dollar industry. You think they're really worried about which hotel they're at? They get the hotel they want.
I'm glad you said that. So a team like the NBA, you don't think they have specific hotels that they automatically get rooms in? You think they just go to the same hotels?
No, that's what I'm saying. And you're saying he wants to book something outside of where the team
Okay,
is.
so then that means if the Lakers basketball operations guy goes, hey, I need 17 rooms, because you and I know hotels have rooms that are blocked off, whether they're full or not, for special guests and special occasions.
Did the NBA sell Game 7 tickets to the Lakers in Denver? Were there pre-sale tickets? Yes. Why? Why were there pre-sale tickets? Did they know Game 7 was coming? No, because it didn't happen. People book things in advance in case something happens.
But that's
Guys, if
happening.
you guys,
Mike, that's a series that's happening. The matchups are happening. So yes, there's game 6 and 7 tickets that are being sold, but that's because it's happening and the odds and the statistics of it happening.
guys, you can book 84,000 hotels and cancel 83,999 of them 24 hours in advance, not pay a dime. I don't know why. This is a huge coincidence. Like
Mike,
he heard him
let
say
me-
one thing.
let me ask you something.
You guys are all focused on one thing.
I know we had a former NBA player on our podcast, Keith Kloss.
Mhm.
He said a couple of eye-opening things, which I know you're a little surprised to hear. So that came from the mouth of an NBA player. So if we were to have an NBA player, let's just say he even says it off the record to us in front of you and says, yeah, that stuff happens. Would that be
Listen,
enough for you to be like, oh wow, I really
guys,
can believe it until
guys,
I'm really hearing it?
guys, you're not. I believe it happens. I do not believe it happens 100% of the time in
I
every
didn't say
game.
it happens 100% of the time. I'm just saying that that's I think it happened in the Minnesota Timberwolves series. That's all I
So,
said.
so do you agree that
I
there?
don't think they
So
threw
Mike, do you agree
4
with the
games.
statement?
I didn't think they threw 4 games. I think game 3 in particular was made sure the Denver won. Game 4 in particular was made sure that Denver won. It turned into a 3-game series, and after that was a free-for-all. I think the same thing happened with the OKC situation in Dallas. It was turned into a 3-game series. Call me crazy. I think the NBA wanted that. I don't think they want to sweep.
Guys, I think the NBA wants 7-game series every single time, but
Of course they do.
it doesn't happen though. So
Of course they do.
why isn't
So,
every game going 7? Why
so,
isn't
so,
every
so
series
Mike,
going 7?
so Mike, since you made a statement and you say you don't disagree with us 100%, and you agree that this happens, is it safe to agree with the statement that there is a controlled narrative in the NBA?
Oh, what do you mean by controlled narrative?
There is a hopeful narrative. Let's call that. Do you believe that there's a hopeful narrative in the NBA?
Yeah, I think the NBA hopes for certain things to happen. I think multiple people have hoped for things
there
that
are
don't
certain
come.
things that they control to try to make that hopeful narrative actually more possible.
No.
Okay. Okay. So now going back to the Western Conference finals right now, Zico, since
Well, by the way, since we're getting back to that, Mike, obviously we have Minnesota versus Dallas. Is there anything you want to talk about the series prior? Anything you feel like where you were impressed, not impressed with in terms of?
No, I just found out it was all scripted and it was going to go 7 regardless, so it didn't matter.
No,
So
I mean in
there's
terms
nothing to
of
point out.
Dallas and Minnesota.
Actually the Dallas and OKC series, I watched a couple of those games, and I noticed that in some of the games that OKC went away from their identity. There was so many times where I noticed, even though I'm a big fan, is SGA try to go 1-on-5. Now, whether he was trying to prove, he deserved an MVP or not, or wanted to maintain his average, I just noticed there was several games and several stretches where they went away from the identity that got them this far in this NBA season, and I think that hurt them, because when you go and play against one veteran, and I'm going to call Jason Kidd a veteran coach, not from a coaching standpoint, but a guy that played in the NBA, you know what I'm saying, won a championship, played a long time, had a long time career, and is known as one of the better, guards in the NBA. And then you have a vet like Kyrie, and I consider Luka a vet just because of his early pro career in Europe, versus a younger OKC. I think they went away from their character in that playoff series, and that played a factor of them losing, yes, in 7, because they had a potential to win that series, in my opinion.
So there was an interesting change that happened with OKC that I felt like tied to exactly what you're talking about. I'm trying to find the exact game that change took place, but Giddey was actually moved to the bench. He did not start. In fact, game 2, he only played 10 minutes. And I saw a big change with the team in terms of ball movement the second he went to the bench. Giddey's the one guy on that team, and he's the point guard. However, SJ handles the ball a lot in the offense. But Giddey's the one guy who makes sure that everyone's getting the ball, like him and
Yeah,
Chet.
he initiates the offense, whether it's SGA that takes over, or but the what's his name? I know they got 2 of them. Was it Jaden Williams or Jalen Williams that they have who started bringing the ball up?
Yeah. They have 2 Williams on the team. However, they
Yeah,
did
I think
change
it's number 8, right? What's his name?
Jalen Williams.
Jalen. Yeah.
But yeah, they took Giddey out and they started Isaiah Joe in game 3. I honestly think that was a big mistake. Again, like to me, like game 2, I saw a change in that team, and most of it was they took the ball out of Giddey's hands, they put it in Shea's hands, and maybe that was the coach's decision, thinking like I need to make sure that Shea is keeping us alive in this series. But I really think that hurt them. I just felt like especially with games 4 and 5 or 5, 6, 7. I did not like the way they were playing offense. It was one player focused. I thought Chet should have been more involved. It's different for players like Chet and Jalen Williams and Luguentz Dortz to, catch the ball and finish versus have to create for themselves. And they started having to create for themselves because SGA was holding on to the ball a little longer than he probably should have. So this could be just them being a young team. Maybe it was too much for Giddey. Like it was a lot of pressure. Maybe it was the coach deciding something that he saw, whether it was in practice or on the court, matchup he wanted to expose. But
He wanted Giddey to have a minor role.
You couldn't help yourself, Mike, but to touch on that, huh?
I saw Mike thinking about something. I was just waiting for it to come out.
I tried to wait. I tried not to. But no, I think, like you said, I think more so than anything, it's them being a young team. But like Omar alluded to, they got away from what they were doing, and that tends to happen in a young team who hasn't been there. They start to panic and they start
But
to
it's
go
also
hero
a young
ball.
coach.
Yeah, so
It's
I think
also a young coach. I know he won Coach of the Year, but again, if you don't have a veteran leadership on the floor,
that calming presence.
yeah. And so I think there could have been a panic button because even like going back to what Zico said, talking about Chet Holt, you know, I'm a fan of Daniel Gafford, but at the same time, Chet was not able to play freely, and not be able to play in rhythm. There was a couple games where he was forcing shots, contested closeout shots on the at the 3-point line because he was getting the ball with not enough time on the shot clock.
Would you trade Chet for Randall and 3 first-round draft picks?
I don't think that's the right fit for either team because OKC's already really small.
It would have to be. It would have to include Mitchell.
Yeah, something like
Mitchell
that.
Robinson.
Mitchell Robinson back, like then maybe. Or if I can keep Chet next to Randall, then maybe. So, but like I don't know. I really like this team. I like their starting 5. I just feel like they just need a better bench and they need like a big man off the bench. They don't have any big guys off the bench. They signed Bismack Biyombo and they traded for Gordon Hayward to kind of give a couple of veteran players, some minutes in situations like this. They didn't even play them. So, Gordon Hayward right away after the series said he was frustrated with his role. So I think some of this, it does have to do with the young coach as well. So
Do you think Brandon Ingram and OKC could be an X factor?
I think they need size. I said this at the trade deadline. I think that was a mistake they made, not getting some size. I'd like to see them go for a backup big guy. Like one guy I know that they're interested in this offseason is Isaiah Hartenstein from the Knicks.
Where is Steven Adams at the end of this season? Is he a free agent?
No, he has one more season left and he's in Houston.
Houston,
So
yeah.
that would be a great backup big man for them to have. Like great backup big man.
Yeah.
Someone like that. That's exactly what I'm talking about. Just someone who could kind of imagine moving Chet to the 4, and playing big, so it would help in a series against Minnesota. It would help in a series against Denver. So yeah, that's just what I think. I think they really just need a good, solid backup big man who could play next to Chet, or without Chet. So
Would you trade for Clint Capella?
that's a good pickup too, honestly.
Clint Capella is a backup though.
I mean, he's in
You think he's willing to? Yeah, I agree. He could be, but is he willing to?
On that team, you're bringing him in as a backup big.
Zico wants him to go sign
play alongside
Dwight Howard. What a combo him and Giddey would make.
So going over to the other one, because messing around, obviously, I think that shockingly, Zico and I were both right in that Minnesota's defense was incredible. But at the same time, Gobert still got exposed because Gobert got switched off and was not guarding Joker because he got used. And they
they started the series that way. They put Gobert on Aaron Gordon, and
I know. That's what I'm saying, because Gobert in the past has been used by Jokic, and they made that adjustment, and I think it was a great adjustment, and their defense looked every bit as good. I think this series is when you're going to see Gobert get exposed the way I said he would, because they're stretching the floor a lot more, and Luka and Kyrie are both phenomenal finishers in the paint. And as good as Jamal Murray is, he does not hold a candle to either one of those two guys.
Exactly. And so this is why I felt like Denver, like this is why I felt that Minnesota was the better team to beat Denver. I think if, Denver is matched up against Dallas, I think they're crushing them, to be honest with you. They match up much better against a team like that. Whereas Dallas is the perfect team to beat Minnesota. The fact that they have two perimeter guys who can create, and they have slashing big men, that run the floor and are going to put Gobert in those types of situations, and Towns in those types of situations. It makes it really hard for them to switch. When you were talking about the drop coverage with the Gobert, they completely countered that by putting Towns on Jokic and leaving Gobert in the post, so that the second Jokic drove, Gobert had the switch and Towns could recover to Aaron Gordon. So they can't do that now.
Well, you can't take away from the fact that Naz Reid also had a good series. I mean, he was an X factor there, and I think if he's able to bring the same performance to this series, I think he's also their X factor if they're gonna, get past Dallas, in my opinion. Because on the perimeter, yes, you're right. Luka and Kyrie are not Jamal Murray, right? They're better finishers, they're better creators. They know how to get in the paint. Yes, Minnesota has, good perimeter defenders but once they get in that paint, it's really not, if Naz Reid is going to be that X factor, if he's going to be able to alter shots and slide his feet to be able to contest shots. But that's a lot of pressure on him, especially with two guys that can create, and they're on the floor at the same time.
Well, the other thing about Naz Reid is, if you look at the matchup he has, the one thing about Denver is they didn't have a backup big man that they could throw at Naz Reid. The Dallas Mavericks actually do. Derek Lively Jr. had a monster first game. He countered Naz Reid really well. He's one of those bigs who really runs the floor and is a lot longer than Naz Reid. So I just feel like Dallas matches up really well. I still think this can go either way, but right now I'm kind of feeling like Dallas might edge this series out. Unless
I can see Dallas winning.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah.
I mean, we kind of said in the beginning that the West overall was pretty much up in the air, except for the 7-8 teams. I didn't see the Lakers going to the finals. We said maybe they can get a deep run if they played amazing and got past Denver. And in the 8th seed, who did OKC sweep? The Pelicans. I don't think.
Yeah.
But outside of that, the
Exactly.
other 6 teams were, the Clippers were good, and Dallas took care of them. Minnesota obviously took care of Denver. Denver was definitely in competition for a finals. OKC obviously doing what they're doing, but yeah, I think Dallas is probably the pick at this point. I think just because Luka and Kyrie are just so deadly as a 1-2 combo.
I will mention this as well. Dallas is another team that is in position to make more moves and be really good down the line. And we had mentioned Brandon Ingram, and this team actually has the salary to match using Tim Hardaway Jr.'s contract, and draft picks, and a couple of really good young players that they could actually throw at the Pelicans to bite on Brandon Ingram. And right now they have Derrick Jones Jr. starting at the small forward spot, and he's been great. He's taken on every defensive assignment he can. But put Brandon Ingram into this mix, you got one more scorer, you got insane length. Anyone like that you can throw in there. I feel like this team could be really good next year too.
Do you mess with the team at the starting rotation, or do you mess with the bench more?
I think
if you make the finals,
best available option. Oh, if you make the finals, this is the interesting. If for whatever team, like right now, Dallas, the Knicks, the Celtics, and Minnesota. You know how many veteran free agents are going to look at these teams and be like, dude, I want to go there. They're set to go. Even Denver, like I know Denver lost, but they're going to want to make changes. Every veteran free agent is going to look at these teams and be like, I want to go play there. I want to play for
I
this
want a
team.
chance to win. I want a ring. Yeah.
Right. So like for me, like I wouldn't be surprised to see them improve all around. But I really like their team. I love Dante Exum off the bench. I know he didn't play a lot in this first game, but he's been great for them. Josh Green plays really tough defense. Derek Lively is going to be a really good center. And, Gafford is starting right now, but Lively will be there in a couple of years. So I think that they're just going to tool slowly and rebuild slowly to whatever they need to do. So for them, I think they're just going to look for best available option. And if it's there, it's there.
Makes sense, I guess.
So I don't want to spend too much more time on the podcast. We said we want to keep it at about an hour.
Yeah. Hey, speaking of that, everybody go like and subscribe and then leave a comment. Do you like it when we ramble for 2 hours, hour and a half, hour? You get tired of us after 30 minutes? I mean, let us know.
By the
We
numbers,
can
they don't,
adjust.
by the numbers, they don't like looking at our faces, but they don't mind listening to us on Apple Podcasts, which is really cool. Yes, all the episodes are available on Apple Podcasts. So thank you guys for listening there as well. We appreciate that. One thing I want to talk about is we got to go back to the Lakers. Okay. They're always in the news, even if they're not in the playoffs. And one of the things that's coming out, we'll leave Bronny out of this conversation entirely. I don't care to talk about. We talked about him enough until now. So if whenever he gets drafted, we'll talk about him then. They've started a coaching search since they have now let go of Darvin Ham. And it looks like the Lakers are seriously interested in JJ Redick.
Hey, one thing, just a quick yes or no before we get to this. Do you think the Cavs should have hired Bickerstaff? Yes or no? Just that's it, and we can move on.
No, but something looked like I don't know if you guys watched any of that series that they just had. Something looked like it was wrong. Like on the bench, you could see something happened. Vibes changed really quick. I have a gut feeling something turned in the locker room. I think it has something to do with Darius Garland. There's already reports out that he's going to ask for a trade if Donovan Mitchell stays, which is
Okay.
like, whoa, that's like a
Let's
huge red flag, right?
yeah, let's try this. Omar, yes or no? Should they have fired him?
No, I don't think so. Not with the way he took this team to the second round of the Eastern Conference Finals. But I also, we're talking about rumors, I also heard that's also for oh boy, you know, a
You guys
possible
are
turn of LeBron to Cleveland.
you guys are plugged in. All right, so go back to the Lakers and JJ Redick. We don't want to talk
Well,
about Bronny and LeBron.
I will go back to Cleveland real quick though, because that had something to do with it, Mike. If you're foreseeing an overhaul of some kind or another rebuild, it might make sense to fire your coach. Bickerstaff's a really good coach, but let's just say if they know we're losing Donovan Mitchell, or hey, we might be interested in drafting Bronny and trading for LeBron James, like maybe they could offer, Garland for LeBron James and make something like that work. Or they're even offering Jared Allen. He's available right now. That's the other rumor. Stuff like that pops up and you hear it and you have to listen to it because stuff like that could, when it's that serious, when there's that, it's like one thing like people saying like, oh, they're going to trade Julius Randle because they got this far without him. Well, they could have gone further with him, right? The Cavs, it's like, oh no, something happened. You could see it in the locker room. You could see it on the bench. They're moving to a different direction. I think you should really keep an eye on who they try to hire. And like JJ Redick is also mentioned with the Cavs. So I think you have to keep that in mind. Like maybe they're going to try and pull LeBron back to the team somehow, trade for him or whatever they want to do. These are all things that could be possibilities. But the JJ Redick situation is interesting to me because I don't like the idea of hiring a coach who never coached. Like you're in a situation, you're the Los Angeles Lakers, a guy who never coached, never was an assistant coach, just got done being a player, and you want to hire him to be your head coach for a team that has championship aspirations.
Did it work for Jason Kidd?
Jason Kidd was an assistant first, though.
I thought he started as a head coach, got fired, then was an
No, no,
assistant, and then
no.
became a head coach again.
No, no, I'm
I
pretty
think
sure
I
he's
think
assistant.
I think Mike is correct. I'm going to confirm that right now, but
Please check that. I'm pretty sure he was on that
um,
staff. Well, how did it work out for Steve Nash?
he got fired.
Yeah, I'm totally agreeing because not Steve Nash, but Jason Kidd's first head coaching job
Was
didn't
Brooklyn?
work out well. Yeah, and it didn't work out well, and he got
Yeah,
fired.
he didn't. Jason Kidd didn't become an assistant until he went to the Lakers for 2 years.
Yeah,
So
and
he was
then he
actually a head
learned how to
coach.
coach, and now he's a good coach. I think I'm agreeing with you. I'm saying Steve Nash didn't work out for. Some other ones, Magic Johnson was a coach, didn't work out with no coaching. Larry Bird did it. I mean, some of these guys, they just jump into it because of who they were as players.
Right.
And I
So
agree, you need to get that experience. So I think he would be a great assistant.
right. If I was going to hire a coach who had never been a coach before, I'd hire Rajon Rondo.
I can see that. Was
Did-
Ty Lue an assistant somewhere before he was head coach?
Yes, he was an assistant.
Okay, I thought so. I wasn't sure.
I think it was Boston under Doc Rivers. He was an
Right.
assistant there, but you're right. But then again, we also know that a way to mask that stuff is who you hire as assistants, and that's why usually the whole staff goes. So if they're looking to bring in JJ Redick, I'm assuming they're going to bring in veteran head coaches or assistant coaches to help. But yeah, the fact that JJ Redick, you know, and Mike, just to counter your argument here about how did it work out for Jason Kidd, everybody that plays basketball knows that the point guard is an extension of the coach, and point guards are easier. Take away Steve Nash, for example. But most, JJ Redick, yes, he may have high IQ, played at Duke. You know what I'm saying? Great veteran player, and was a great role player. But a point guard has a better odds in transition into a coach than an actual.
Oh yeah, absolutely. And I
any other
think
position.
Steve Nash got thrown into a crappy situation
Well,
where a lot of things got misconstrued, and we don't need a coach. We're all the coach, and that got turned into a
he's
big
also
thing.
coaching, and that's going to be the downfall of JJ Redick possibly, right? Because Jason Kidd went and coached Brooklyn when Brooklyn really didn't have those superstars like that, right? But Steve Nash gets hired, and he has Kyrie, KD, guys that
Harden.
Harden, so guys that possibly he couldn't manage their egos. One of the hardest job of a coach is managing egos, and we all know that. But like, this is going to sound crazy, but I always have to say at least one crazy thing on this podcast is Steve Nash may be a great player and was a great point guard in the NBA, but tell me what system he ran.
Exactly. This is
So
one of those things that I knew he'd fail.
If you never ran a system in your life, how can you coach?
Steve Nash was put into a system that was perfectly tailored to him, in terms of his capabilities and strengths. And the second he was no longer in that system, he wasn't the player that was winning and at 2 MVPs.
It was also very old when he was out of that system.
Yeah, but think about it. Why would Dallas and Mark Cuban let Steve Nash leave when he played with Dirk Nowitzki? Because
he wasn't,
obviously, like Zico mentioned earlier in the podcast, teams like Dallas, they build systems, they bring players that fit their system. There's a reason why Dallas was able to beat the Heat in 2006, right? And this is where Steve Nash didn't become the Steve Nash. He was good in Dallas. Don't get me wrong. I'm not knocking him as a point guard or as an NBA player, but he wasn't the Steve Nash like Zico said that won 2 MVPs.
No, and to be fair, we're talking about a D'Antoni ran system where in the NBA at that time, they were putting up offensive numbers like nobody else because that's all they did. Shoot the ball in 7 seconds and get back on defense, let them score, go down, shoot the ball again. They played no defense. It was a terrible system as far as the basketball program is concerned. They were never going to win a championship. It was garbage top to bottom. But offensively, they put up amazing numbers. And again, Stoudemire was good. Sean Marion was good. Steve Nash, these are good, maybe great NBA players.
but they were in a thing that just propped up all of their stats and made them look inflated, and that's why he got those. And that's
Kind
the
of
one
looks like
thing.
today's NBA, does it not?
Yeah, absolutely. I think today's NBA is more offensive. It's much more run and gun, shoot a three, jack it up, get back. But if you look, like we all said, playoffs is real basketball to the not all the way to the extent we're used to, but it's much more. These games are much lower scoring. It's a much slower pace. It's much more grinding. And that's why these defensive teams are now starting to win games, because defensive consistency is always going to trump offense because it's just effort. There's not as much skill in defense. So anybody can do it with the right amount of effort, right? So all playoff long, everyone's like, oh, what are these games? It's 90 to 94. What is this? That's
Beautiful.
basketball. It's
Absolutely.
much better to watch. It's better to see. They're not coming down just jacking up 40 footers, 45 footers. And it's a much more, I don't want to say tailored, but it's a much more structured basketball game, and it's better. And Phoenix did that in the regular season back in the day. It came down, jacked up shots, put up inflated offensive numbers. Then the playoffs came, and they couldn't do anything on the other end. That's why, and I'll go back to it. And even though I was on the Clippers earlier, and I thought the Clippers had a chance, James Harden is not going to win a championship playing the style of basketball he plays. And when Kawhi didn't play, it took the ball put the ball in Harden's hands more often, and it is what it is from there.
I agree with that. And that team was obviously dealing with injuries of their own that affected them. I still felt like they were deep enough that they could have won. I think they could have beat Dallas. I just think that, James Harden was a huge issue for them. And it's no knock on him. I feel like D'Antoni ruined him too. Like it just when you play in that system and you put up numbers the way you do, it tends to affect you when you go into another structured system. So
100%. There's no emphasis on effort or defense, and it comes down to it. They're like, oh, we're going to shoot better than the other team. Well, that's all fine and dandy in the regular season, but as soon as people start playing for real, it doesn't work.
So who is the guy you guys think the Lakers should sign as coach? They've been talking about JJ Redick. They talked about Rajon Rondo. They lost out on what's his name? Milwaukee's old coach, Budenholzer. He went in to Phoenix, which kind of blew my mind. He chose that team over the Lakers.
Convince Coach K to come coach the Lakers, put Rondo and Redick on the assistant team, and run it from there.
That is the best idea I've heard anyone say, Mike. Actually, that's the smartest thing you've said since you started this podcast.
Not a bad idea because
But they're not going to get him now.
But you got a guy who can actually manage egos. Then you got a guy who has two guys on the bench that have great basketball IQ that can help with breakdown of film, and then you have Rondo, who we all know is a future NBA coach.
And you know that any system he puts in place, Redick already knows that he's ready to go and run with it.
Both of them are. Didn't Rondo play for him too?
No, he played at Kentucky.
Oh, yeah. Okay, my bad. One thing that I will say about Coach K is Coach K is an ass, which I respect coaches who choose to do that. And I think the Lakers, more than anything, need a coach who will be an ass, especially to LeBron James if he's still on the team.
The Lakers need to decide here, are they building for the next 2 seasons with LeBron, or are they building for the future and adding LeBron's expertise to help whoever they bring in and the young end of things and grow and build for the future? I personally think that AD is not the way to go. I don't think he's somebody to build a team around. But I don't know who's out there you could really trade and get. So you hire Coach K, you get him on a 4 or 5 year deal. Maybe not that long. Maybe you do 2 years and just re-up and you see where you're at when LeBron's gone. But I think you get those guys, then you have a nice coach's room.
It'd be interesting for sure. I think we have to keep an eye on the coaching situation for the Lakers, for the Cavs, and maybe even a couple more teams that might be trying to sneak into the mix here. And make a play for LeBron's services, talents, whatever you want to call it at this point. But I think it's gonna be a really fun offseason, honestly. I think there's gonna be so much talk and confusion and rumors flying around. So I'm excited to see what's gonna happen.
And good on the NBA for getting people excited to talk about who's going to coach where in the offseason. Used to just be players. Now we're talking about coaches too.
Yeah, it's true. I like looking at coaching situations too. I know a lot of fans are really angry at Darvin Ham. I don't think they should have been, and I don't think like we just said, like I don't think Bickerstaff should have been fired. But coaching in the NBA is hard. There's so much politics involved with this, and a report comes out that AD was the one that wanted Ham gone more than anyone. I think
like
Ham was a
look at
good coach. I think he was a good coach. I just don't think that he was the right coach for a team with LeBron, with these egos on the team. They had LeBron left, and then they were just building with the young group. I think Ham would have been great, but
Ime Udoka.
that's a good coach.
It's a really
really
good coach, and unfortunately, I guess you wouldn't want to really call that politics, but his personal
What would
life
we
got
call
in the way of I don't
what would we call that?
yeah, his personal life got in the way, or whatever he decided to do was just not for the team, right? But he's a good coach.
Omar, how much would you have liked for Ime Udoka to be the coach of the Lakers this last season? Just listen to him like drive LeBron crazy all season long.
How much would
Well,
have OKC loved him to be the coach?
Yeah, that's exactly what we need. Ime Udoka, Josh Giddey, and Dwight Howard all on the same team.
you know what? Look, that you let's not compare those three scenarios together. Ime Udoka is a little different. At least he was operating on a major scale, not a minor scale.
Good.
And he wasn't on the dark side.
He was
But
operating on a corporate level, man. Like he went to top.
yeah, which if you're gonna aim high, aim high.
You gotta,
you
you
know,
gotta.
but from a coaching standpoint, yes, I would like to, see him be the Lakers coach. Plus, he played for the Lakers, so he knows the organization. He knows the people in the organization. We talk about it, call it whatever you want to call it, but it 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 takes certain type of coach to be able to coach a LeBron led team. And Ime Udoka is not that guy, not because he can't coach. It's because we all know that, and everybody talks about it. LeBron is the coach. That's why JJ Redick is, LeBron dictates what everything happens.
I don't agree with that just because look at how successful LeBron was when he was with Spoelstra. I think LeBron has a coach who is
That's
there.
because you also had Pat Riley in the background that would tell you to shut the F up.
Yeah, it's true,
But
Mike.
but you don't have that in the Lakers anymore. Now, if you had a guy like Jerry West running the Lakers,
oh yeah, he would have been the one telling him to shut up.
you understand, Lakers don't have that anymore.
Right.
So that's why a guy like
Jerry West is not fond of LeBron.
Well, but regardless, he would have been somebody that would, we talked about it. Spoelstra is from the Pat Riley tree, and he's established himself now. Even if Pat Riley retires and walks away from the game, people are going to respect Spoelstra because of that culture that Miami set and what the standard he set as a coach, right? And his success. But we're talking about LeBron had to acquiesce to that, but the Lakers don't have that. The Lakers don't have that support to Ime Udoka. Now, Greg Popovich, let's just say, somebody who would do that, I think, and I could be wrong, but a Kevin McHale or a Danny Ainge would tell LeBron to shut the F up.
Yeah, of course they would.
And so
they're old school coaches. Like you got to look now at these new school guys. Like Budenholzer would have told him to do the same thing. Budenholzer is tough too, but
yeah, we're talking about the ultimate talent.
Budenholzer going to Phoenix instead of the Lakers should be really eye-opening to a lot of people. Like the fact that he would go to that team tells me he did not want to deal with
he'd rather deal with Bradley Beal, D Books, Kardashian moments and KD versus dealing with LeBron. That tells you a lot.
Yeah. Okay, guys, let's end it there. End it talking about coaches. But thank you guys for tonight. Anything you guys want to add real quick?
I gotta
No.
find a Kobe jersey.
Okay,
Someone's
good.
got one.
I mean, I can give you my size 56, but
But it's,
you know what? It might work out for you, Mike, because
Yes.
you're tall. So
Yeah.
you can wear mine.
I'm not going out in it. I'll sit back like this. You guys can see the number. I'll hold it up once. We can move on, or I'll wear it backwards so it can say Bryant. I don't care.
Mike going out with that jersey, he'd
Yeah,
have.
not happening.
I know, but I don't think he realizes like how much nicer people would be to him. Like,
know,
we
right?
wear Kobe
They'll show
Bryant
you-
jerseys now, like
they'll show you a
we don't
lot of
say
love.
anything. We just like give fist bumps, bro. Like we all just understand each other. He'd get like so many like high fives and fist bumps. Like he wouldn't even understand what's going on.
Yeah,
Yeah,
Mike.
no, I don't need all that in my life.
I miss him too. That's what people be telling you. I miss him too, man.
And I would go, who? And they go, oh, you're wearing a Bryant shirt. I'll be like, oh, yeah. No, we're
Check
good.
out this podcast. You'll understand why.
Yeah.
Like and subscribe.
Give me flyers. I'll pass them out.
All right, guys. Thank you guys again. Till next time.
Until next time, everybody.
All right, bye.
Have a safe.